After years of my dad enabling his entitled wife's toxic behavior, I finally went no contact when she attacked my kid over a wedding dispute. I tried posting this on Ida through a different account a couple days ago, but it didn't work out, given the trigger warning. I'm not surprised. I have since concluded my wife and I did the right thing, so this will be my last attempt to post this story. I tried to add some info and change the wording a little. All names are fake. My 28M stepmother, 49, is a wannabe. My stepmother is a party planner. She's taken it upon herself to plan and host every party and holiday my dad's family has thrown since she married him. I never liked those occasions growing up. She's controlling and gets upset if people complain about anything. I was always more lenient with her because my dad said it helped her feel included. I'm getting married to my fiancée Jane in July. We got engaged in early 2021, but Jane ended up getting pregnant a couple of months after that. We decided to postpone the wedding to focus on that. We've had a long engagement because we've been waiting for our son. My stepmother has been involved in our wedding plans from the start. She's complained, contacted our planner, shown up unannounced to Jane's dress appointments, and so on. We've asked her to stop, but Dad wants us to humor her. She seems resentful of the fact that she's not hosting the wedding or being labeled mother of the groom in invitations. Besides our baby boy, we also have Luke, 4M, Jane's paternal half-brother. She got custody of him a few months ago. After his parents died, I ended up moving in with his grandparents during the pandemic. I've been in Luke's life since he was a baby. He doesn't call me dad and refers to us as his sister and his op. We love him like a son. The stepmother hates Luke. She accused Jane of baby-trapping her way into the family. That accusation only got worse after our son was born. My dad gets along with Jane and Adair the kids, but the stepmother demands that he refuse babysitting Luke. That's why we don't leave the kids with him. Jane's brother and S usually watch the kids for us, since their children are close in age. Last Sunday we had a thing, and my Bill was out of town with his family. Jane's other siblings live in different cities, as well as my mom and sister. My dad agreed to babysit at our place and we left. When we came back, we found both kids crying, stepmother screaming, and Dad trying to calm everyone down. Apparently, Luke had told stepmother that both he and our son were going to be ring bearers. She flipped out and started screaming that she wasn't going to allow that because he wasn't family. She then made me add the trigger warning when he started crying. His lip is still split. She'd never gotten to this point before. We immediately banned her from our house and from our wedding. Dad is furious and has said he's not going without her. He's also convinced half of his side of the family by severely downplaying what stepmother did to boycott the wedding as well. This includes my stepbrother. Jane's family is sticking together, but many of my cousins who aren't coming anymore are asking us to reconsider. Pretty much all of Jane's family agrees with us, but one of her aunts has suggested that maybe stepmother is acting out because she doesn't feel welcomed by my family. I've had it with my family enabling her behavior. I love my dad and really want him at my wedding, but I am more than willing to go without him. We decided to press charges. We took Luke to the pediatrician the next day and gathered every piece of evidence we had. Not only did we have pictures of Luke's face, but we also had nanny cam footage. Some commenters were right to assume that my SM hadn't been invited to our house, but my dad hasn't really gone anywhere without her in years, so we took precautions. We never thought she'd do anything like this, but we've never trusted her with the kids. The physical attack happened off camera, but there is some footage of her screaming and Luke crying before and after the event. She now has a child abuse charge on her WAP sheet. We wouldn't let her get away with this. There is a lot of additional info I want to add. I'll try to respond to at least some of the comments. I did not expect the amount I've gotten so far, but all I'll add for now is that Luke is okay. The pediatrician visit happened the day after. Counselor Jane was pretty traumatized when her dad and stepmom died and was worried it would rub off on him. We continued your treatment. We've been hugging and pampering him a little more than usual. He's still upset but is already doing much better. Update. Step Monster got herself banned for my wedding. Thanks to everybody who took the time to read and/or comment on my previous post. It's been a tough week, but it's great to know that people care. I haven't been able to reply to every comment, but I will try to address some in this update. This might get a little long, so I'll try to be brief. I'll start off by saying that me and Jane are going to avoid contact with my dad and SM. We haven't really spoken to either of them since the incident, and I don't plan on being the one to reach out. My younger sister is handling communication between us. She's completely on our side, but we remain in low contact for the time being. I've decided to adopt Jane's way of doing things. In terms of dealing with people she cares about, I'm going to forgive what's been apologized for, but I'm not going to forget. Basically, if Dad or SM ever truly understand what they did wrong and sincerely apologize, we're willing to forgive them even if it's begrudgingly, but we will never ignore or let them forget what they did to our family. For the time being, neither of them will be allowed near Luke, our baby, or any other kids we may have in the future, even if we do forgive them. As for the rest of my family, I've read a lot of comments suggesting I've been advised to post pictures of Luke's face as well as the nanny cam footage. I'm not very active on social media, but even if I was, I'm not comfortable exposing my injured preschooler like that, especially given that nothing on the internet ever truly goes away. I've also decided not to share the pictures with my family unless it's absolutely necessary. I should probably mention that while my family adores my dad, they're not very fond of SM. She had 2 failed marriages prior to meeting my father, the first of which resulted in my stepbrother cheated on his then-girlfriend to be with her. My family loved her right away, but they didn't like SM. She's been controlling and manipulative since the beginning. She's also tried to force her way into the family matriarch role by any means possible. She took over planning duties for every family event because she liked the attention and compliments that came with it. The main reason why I hated these parties growing up was because she made everything about her, including Christmas, mine, and my sister's birthdays. The rest of the family was neutral about it, but they never liked her with Luke. It was different. Most of my relatives didn't meet him until company restrictions got looser. By then, he was 2 years old. He's a bright, genuinely lovable kid. There weren't really any other small children in the family, so everyone immediately started liking him. The way I see it, SM got upset that Jane and Luke were accepted. My family was so quick to compare her experience to theirs, which is why she resents them both. I can't confirm that she was also mad, but she tried to pressure us into letting her officiate. One of Jane's best friends was offered at role a year ago, making my stepbrother my best man. He wasn't interested, and I'd already asked my best friend to be our flower girl. We'd promised Jane's 3-year-old. A year ago, my niece, her sister's daughter, is 15 and doesn't know us. She also tried to convince us to let her dad walk Jane down the aisle since her father's gone. But her eldest brother, Bill, had already been enlisted. SM was disappointed that my family wasn't as involved in the wedding as Jane's and kept making comments about how that would never happen if we put her in charge. All of that being said, there is nothing that can excuse it's pretty awful to treat a child like that, especially if it's just jealousy. I haven't spoken with my father, so my sister has been keeping me updated on what he's been up to. I found out through her what my dad and SM told the rest of the family. It erases Luke's injury and the abuse charges. It seems like they banned us because they got annoyed with SM and decided to take it out on my dad. SM didn't like her, so it was easy to explain what happened that night. Most of the relatives I wanted at the wedding have apologized and are criticizing my dad as well. Those who didn't believe us and those who said we overreacted have been told they're not welcome in our home anymore. They're mostly people from my dad's generation, so I'm not surprised. But I did realize they're so biased that they'll protect her. After she hurt a child just to make my dad happy, I've realized I don't need any of them in my life. My stepbrother is still in denial. He refuses to believe his mother could hurt a child, even with all the evidence we have. I understand. I love my mom too, but I wouldn't excuse his obliviousness. So he's banned too. It's a shame because we were close growing up, but I don't regret it. Besides, Jane has 3 other siblings besides Luke, an older brother named Bill and a younger sister. I'm closer to them than I ever was to him. Speaking of Jane's family, they're all furious over what happened and have been extremely supportive. Jane's maternal family basically adopted Luke after she got custody of him and have called frequently to make sure he's okay. We did manage to save some money by uninviting everybody and have decided to use it to help Jane's cousin. She lives in a different country and was previously unable to come to the wedding, so we're paying for her to come. Luke's doing much better now. He's almost back to his old self. The split lip was just a minor injury and is healing well. We sat down with him a few days ago and explained that my dad and stepmother wouldn't be around anymore. He really liked my dad, but he understands. We've explained to Luke that he and SM are very close. He's clearly scared of her, but we're doing our best to make him feel safe. Jane and I have reassured him that he is family and that we love him. We've also told him that no one will ever change that. I'm not too worried about Dad or SM trying to show up at the wedding, but we've alerted the venue and given them pictures just in case. Just in case they try anything, it'd be better to be safe than sorry. Some people have pointed out that SM is a hypocrite for saying Luke isn't family. I agree for obvious reasons. Her main excuse for pretty much everything she does is that she doesn't feel like my family welcomes her. My dad has been guilting me to take part in everything she plans. It seems like she's always making excuses for him without realizing it's basically a case of the pot calling the kettle black. Luke's family has made me accept that, even though I'll always love my dad. It's just not safe or healthy for me and my family to be around him. It's tough to see my son without his only remaining biological grandfather. But he has two incredible step-grandfathers to look forward to. I'm sad, but I'm at peace with how things have turned out. I don't like to complain about my life. It's a work in progress, but it's a beautiful journey. I love my fiancé, I love my kids, and I'm lucky enough to I love my job, and I'm happy to report that everything is going well. I'm not letting anyone ruin that. To whoever was annoyed at my censorship when posting on Ida, I'm sorry you had that experience. Jane suggested I make the writing less explicit, and I'm working on that. I'm not used to Reddit yet, so I might have overdone it a little bit. This is probably my last update on this story, but I'll keep you posted again. Thank you for your support. I appreciate all your support and best wishes. I'll start off by probably disappointing a lot of people. We're coming to terms with the fact that it's unlikely SM will get anything more than a slap on the wrist. Jane and I are discussing our next move with our lawyer, but we're still not sure how. We're going to move forward, but it's still too early to tell what will happen. We're trying not to get ahead of ourselves. However, I'm relieved to announce that we're getting started on the process for a restraining order against SM. We're using the same evidence we gathered the week following the incident, including the nanny. We'll also be looking at the CCTV footage and pictures of Luke. I still haven't spoken to my father. My sister is still in LC, but she's seriously considering cutting ties with him because she's the only one on my side that still talks to him. My father keeps trying to ask her about me and whether I've calmed down yet. She says he's annoyed that half of his family won't talk to him, but he doesn't seem to understand why I told my sister she doesn't need to keep acting as a go-between for me and our father. I never asked her to do it, and it's clearly taking a toll on her, but she says she'll stop when it feels right. There's no doubt that SM attacked Luke. Not only did Luke say it at the moment we got home, but my father also confirmed it in a failed attempt to defend her behavior. He never tried to hide it from us. The only positive thing I can say about his actions and Sam is that he gave Luke an ice bag. I was too busy defending Luke to deny it to those who guessed SM is younger than my dad. She's also 5 years younger than his previous girlfriend. They got together when I was around 15. My stepbrother is only a month older than me. She turns 50 later this year. I had him at 21, married his father a year later. Both our kids are doing okay. Luke's back to running around the house in his Superman costume. He had a few nightmares this past week and is asked to sleep on our bed twice. We don't mention my father around him, and he's still seeing his counselor. Our 14-year-old, it's been about a month. Our son has learned 2 new words, hi and bye. Luke is trying to teach him to say his name. Jane's sister, who moved away for college, is coming over for a couple days to celebrate her 21st birthday later this month. Luke is excited to see her, and Jane is excited to drink with her. I don't blame her. We're hoping her presence will cheer us all up. I'm not doing so well, and neither is Jane. She's usually the kind of person who tries to keep her negative emotions to herself, but she cried herself to sleep almost every night the week it happened. It breaks my heart to see. I feel like this is my fault. There's a part of me that says I had no way of knowing SM would do anything like that, but that doesn't really change anything. I allowed my father to be near my kids unsupervised, even though I knew she'd probably tag along. I've never felt this guilty before, and I don't think I'll ever forgive myself. Jane has been improving lately and is trying to convince me to see a therapist. I've never really done that before, apart from a psychiatrist when I was younger, but now it seems like a good idea to give it a try. I got a few messages this week from people telling me to forgive my father and SM, as well as invite them to the wedding that's not happening. I'm not willing to ever forgive SM. My dad is now a maybe, but I will never understand or forget what she did. We're not postponing the wedding, and we considered rescheduling, but the date we've chosen is the only one that works for our guests. We've given our vendors passwords and clear instructions not to talk. Jane's family is larger and more closely knit than mine, which is why they're more involved in the wedding. I do, however, have family participating. My sister is one of the bridesmaids, 2 of my cousins are groomsmen, and my mom is walking down the aisle with the wedding party. Going through all of this with Jane has made me realize just how much I love and appreciate her. She's the perfect partner to start a family with, and I don't know what I'd do without her. This didn't tear us apart, and I'm grateful for that. I probably won't make any more updates until after the wedding, unless something big happens in the meantime. I'll keep you posted after the wedding unless something major happens in the meantime. As always, best wishes to all of you. I also saw my father in SM for the first time since she attacked my child. I didn't plan on updating again before the wedding, but something pretty significant happened. The good news is that we got to see our kids. The bad news is that Jane and I had to see both SM and my father at the court here. This was our first time seeing them since we kicked them out of our house over a month ago, and neither of us was looking forward to it. We left the kids with Jane. My brother and I were there, so at least Luke didn't have to see them. The hearing itself went a lot quicker than I expected. I'll give credit where it's due. My father was smart enough to understand there was no way they were winning. There was a lot of evidence against them. Not only did we have the nanny cam footage and Luke's pictures and medical record, but my sister had also gathered every text and email SM had sent her and the family about what happened. SM had also spoken on the phone, so there were a lot of those. They didn't even bother to get an attorney for. The judge granted us a protection order against SM. She's not allowed within 500 feet of us or our property anymore. We're changing all our locks this week, and I'm thinking about changing my phone number as well. I have to admit that the moment we left the courthouse was the safest. I'd felt since this whole ordeal started that Jane was close to tears of joy when we got to the car. We picked up the kids and went to McDonald's with Bill and his family to celebrate. Hours later, my father called. The order doesn't extend to him, so he can still do that. Jane and the kids. I was in bed, so I answered. I didn't expect him to change his mind and apologize, but I decided to give him one last chance. He tried to start some awkward small talk, but I told him to get to the point. He asked me if the order was truly necessary. I stated very clearly that I told him that he was never coming near Jane or my children again. I also said that I was glad I hadn't formalized things because every excuse he had for SM was pretty easy to shut down. She only hit him once, though. That's enough for me. The kids need their grandma. She's not their grandma mom. She's my wife. You need to respect her. She attacked Luke. She disrespected my family in my own house. I don't owe her anything, least of all my respect. He then went on a rant about family. I'll be the first to admit that SM was a godsend. She's done so much for me and my sister since she came into our lives. But I also have to say that I've noticed a few things that have been bothering me. I've seen her lie, overstep boundaries, and act unhinged around me, my family, and my sister. I've seen it happen in both my adult life and my youth. She's tried to hijack most of our milestones recently, including our wedding plans, our son's birth, Jane's baby shower, and my sister's college graduation. She's obsessed with the idea of a perfect family. I also mentioned her habits of going through mine and my sister's stuff when we were younger. It's trivial compared to everything else, but this behavior went on until my sister moved out of their house 3 months ago. We're pretty sure she found out about Jane's wedding dress appointments by reading my sister's planner while she wasn't home. For instance, some of the memories I mentioned are long and hard to explain, but they did cement the fact that SM means nothing to me. He tried to go with the "she doesn't feel included" excuse again, but I shut him up. I said he'd had the opportunity to protect his grandchildren but had chosen his wife instead. And that's enough for me to want nothing to do with him. I hung up without saying goodbye. My sister told me he called her afterwards and she told him she was going. I think we're both starting to accept that our father won't change. It's unfortunate, but he's made his priorities clear, and his children and grandchildren aren't among them for now. That's all I have to say for now. I'm thinking about sharing some of the stories I reminded my father of, but that's going to take a while. Until then, as always, best wishes to all of you. I wanted to give you an update on the three-step monster. He tried to hijack our baby shower. I mentioned this in my last post. I was thinking about sharing some stories from before I finally got in line against my lovely SM and went and see with my father. There are plenty worth writing about, but I'll start with one of my sister's favorites. All names are fake. My fiancée Jane found out she was pregnant in June 2021, and we announced it to our immediate families in August. At first, SM was completely uninterested in our baby. I didn't expect much from the woman whose reaction to when we announced the pregnancy. Jane's dad asked if she was sure it was mine. Even my own father berated him for that one. But she barely acknowledged the fact that we were expecting. She was more interested in my stepbrother, who was also engaged and would soon have a beautiful grandbaby. No complaints. We didn't want her involved, and we didn't even have to say anything. Planning the baby shower was complicated. Both Jane and I would have to work until the holidays were coming up, and I wanted to be involved. The due date was in February 2022, so we decided on early January as the best time. We enlisted 2 people as planners. My sister Laura just realized I'd never given her a name, and Jane's best friend Nina and I are mostly laid-back people. We didn't want a big party, nor did we want to spend too much money on it. We were saving for both our baby and the wedding. We decided early on that the shower would be We also decided it would be best to have the shower indoors. We planned it for January and invited 25 people, plus about a dozen kids. Jane and I came up with the idea of a pizza party. My son, Luke, and I have been having homemade pizza nights every week since I moved in. We thought it would be fun to incorporate that into the shower. Nina found an event venue with a pizza oven, and Laura figured out ways to incorporate classic baby shower stuff into the theme. The resulting plans were great. We had a pizza-making station, and we also had classic baby shower decorations. We also had alcoholic drinks and plain bodysuits for the kids to customize. Laura mixed pizza decor with baby decor and found pizza-shaped sweets. It almost seemed messy, and I was surprised they made it work, but we loved it. We finished most of the planning by the middle of November. My stepbrother's fiancée left him for her later that month. For example, they'd been together for 4 years by that point, and it was both sudden and traumatic for him. He was devastated. Then, he realized the grandchild she dreamed of would take longer to come than he'd thought. So he moved on to my kid. He went from being a distant relative to an excited grandpa. Her Facebook posts were tacky, but we didn't think much of it at first. We were busy finishing up at work and getting ready for the holidays. It didn't take long for her to start pestering us about planning the baby shower as well as a gender reveal. We told her we weren't doing a gender reveal party. We're not offended, but we just don't like them. We decided to wait until birth to find out the sex. SM tried to get us to find out and tell her as a Christmas present, but we didn't. We also denied her the baby shower. She told my father and he told Laura, who was still living with her at the time, so she didn't. It wasn't really a choice, but she said, "Nah." They met SM for coffee, though I wasn't there for that meeting. Laura told me what happened later, before they could even mention their plans. SM started talking about hers. According to Laura, she pulled a shockingly thick binder with the words, "Oh baby," on the cover, colorful tabs, and pieces of fabric. She pulled a short binder out of her bag and headed to the shower section. It was longer than the rest of the binder, but still quite thick. It was all about her one and only baby shower project. Laura sent me pictures, and I'll give her this. It looked like the most Instagrammable baby shower ever. That being said, it was also barely functional. It was clear that SM had spent a lot of money on the event. There were balloons, oversized teddy bears, giant alphabet blocks, and some signs that were a bit cringeworthy. The venue was pretty, but also a bit uncomfortable, with uncomfortable chairs and some fancy food ideas that didn't look edible. Most of them had soft cheeses, which Jane couldn't eat. The color palette was just 3 different shades of pink. With gold accents, we'd be fine with a pink baby shower if it at least tried to mix things up a little. SM's pictures looked like Barbie had puked all over Hello Kitty's birthday party when I tried to remind her that we didn't know the sex. SM said she just knew that it was a girl. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. SM also wanted an all-female child. She had a free party with fancy caterers and alcohol on the list. It was for her closest friends, and neither mine nor Jane's moms were on it. She planned party games, but no one had any interest in trying them out. The only thing everyone could agree on was to hold the party indoors. Laura and we weren't able to show her our plans until she was done. Once they explained that they could incorporate some of SM's ideas, but they'd already settled on the pizza theme. I tried to protest, but Laura said it was kind of them to even offer that, since the shower was a month away. We'd already approved their plans, and SM even called to try to get them to change their minds, but I just repeated their words. My dad couldn't come to the shower, so he didn't get a say in anything anymore. The holidays came around, and the subject was dropped. SM seemed to be okay with the pizza party. Nina managed to pair some of the pink decor she'd wanted with matching blue stuff and even added one of the huge teddy bears. Fast forward to a week before the shower. Jane was almost 8 months pregnant. Everything had been bought, all guests had RSVP'd, and pretty much anything was ready to go. The shower was set to start at 7 p.m. SM offered to get to the venue earlier to prepare everything. Laura agreed, mostly because she knew SM would be upset if she didn't get to do anything, and the venue even let them drop off their decorations before the party. Me and Jane promised to get there at 6 o'clock 2 days before the shower. However, the venue called Nina. They told her that SM had stopped by to drop off large, heavy boxes of what she called a little surprise for us. She'd informed them that she planned on showing up at 3:30. They said we could start setting it up from 1 p.m. onward, and they wanted to remind us that the venue was only booked past 4 p.m. SM was pretty upset when she found out that all of the decorations were still at Nina's house. She called Laura to see if they'd left anything with SM. Thankfully, my sister is smart and used to this kind of thing. She drove to the venue the next day and asked for SM's boxes. She told me she wasn't even surprised at what was in them when she opened them, but she was still shocked at SM's audacity. All of the boxes were filled with pink frilly decorations, and some of them seemed to be the exact same items SM had initially shown Laura and the balloons, the placemats, everything. Laura realized that's why SM had intended to get to the venue earlier to set up the baby shower she'd planned and pretty much force us all to party in Barbie hell with her. She called to figure out what to do, but neither of them could come at 4 p.m. It was pretty clear that SM was going to have to get out of the way. The obvious solution was to just throw everything away, but Laura had a better idea. That night, they called me and Jane. Hey, we're going to destroy a party in 2 hours. Laura got home and invited SM to go to a salon with her, lying about having coupons. SM agreed, and they planned on going right after SM was done preparing the baby shower at 4 p.m. The next day, SM arrived at the venue and had everything set up by 5. I'll admit the woman is fast and quickly left to meet Laura at the salon once they were together. Laura texted to say that it was all clear, so Jane and I went to the venue. Sure enough, SM had prepared her party to make this shorter. I won't describe it, but I will say it was so pink it almost gave Jane nausea for the next 2 hours. Laura distracted SM at the salon while the 3 of us quickly took down every SM had put up some decorations, which we replaced with pizza party stuff. We set up the activities, made up the tables, and put every pink item we found back in M's boxes. It was actually really fun. We were done only minutes before the shower started. A handful of guests arrived before SM did, so I barely saw her all night. Laura told me that when they got there, SM was shocked and confused. She was trying to make sense of what had happened to all her pink decorations. My sister just smiled, whispered "nice try" in her ear, and went to help Luke customize a bodysuit. Overall, the baby shower was everything we'd hoped for. Our friends were there, people had fun, and we had a ton of pizza, so I didn't really care that SM spent the whole party literally sulking in the corner. I did catch her trying to put little pink bows on top of the cupcakes, but she quickly shut that down. I have to give credit to Laura and Nina for saving the day. After that, SM lost interest in our baby. She stopped wearing her Nana shirts, didn't come to see us at the hospital when he was born, and refused to even acknowledge that he was a boy until she met him weeks later. Up until we went and see, she was a very loose definition of the word grandmother. I couldn't be more grateful. My son will never know her. The baby shower was at 7. It was 7 p.m. It was the only time that worked for everyone, including the venue, because it was booked for the morning. We needed time to set things up. Luke was the only small child there. The others were at least 9. Most of the parents left early, too. We were prepared for everyone we'd invited, but not everyone on the guest list was able to come. Just wanted to give you an update on the situation with the step monster. It's gone, and I think it's for good after being engaged for over 2 years. Me and Jane finally got married last Saturday. We're still getting used to calling each other husband and wife, but we'll get there. Hopefully the wedding was a great success. The kids had fun. Our extended families finally met, and we danced so much I could barely stand the next day. Luke took his ring bearer. I was on duty and held my son's hand as they walked down the aisle. My aunt got pretty drunk and ended up in a wheelchair, which I already thought would happen anyway. Everything went according to plan. It's been 4 months since we got the row against SM. Things have been mostly quiet, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I wasn't really worried about SM showing up at the wedding, especially after the row. It's literally illegal for her to come close to us, and we made it very clear that if she tried, we'd call the cops right away. My friends still warned me to take safety measures, most of which I did. SM didn't show up, of course, but I believe that any money spent on security is well spent, so I have no regrets. My stepbrother and I wished each other happy birthdays, and he also texted Jane on hers back in June. That's the only contact we've had during these months. He knows that the door is still open if he wants to apologize. My dad has given up on trying to reach me. We haven't spoken since April. He's still trying to talk to my sister for some reason, but she's ignoring him. A few days after she went and see, I heard that she'd had a huge fight with him over the phone about SM's treatment of us over the years. They had a big fight over the phone about SMS's treatment of us over the years. They insulted each other, brought up old issues, and most importantly, my father sided with SMS on almost everything. My sister called me crying afterwards, and I wanted to call him and yell at him, but she told me not to. She's doing okay now, but she hasn't blocked him and doesn't take his calls or answer his texts. She's only received 3 apologies. One on my birthday back in May, and a long rant after neither of us wished him a happy Father's Day. Despite our differences, he's still our father. He's not wrong. I love my father and I always will, but I can't be around him anymore. I've closed that door, but I'm not locking it just yet. He knows what he needs to do if he wants his family back. I think he'll do it, but if there's the slightest chance he might, I'll consider opening the door a little. This is my wife's suggestion. I'm a lot less optimistic than she is, but maybe it's important to hold on to that hope. She hasn't forgiven him, though. Or SM Jane has always been very protective of Luke, so it was no surprise that this disaster shook her. A part of me was scared she'd blame me, but she called me a dumbass when I told her that I've been in therapy for a few months and it's helped a lot more than I thought it would. I've realized SM's behavior around me growing up was a lot worse than I always thought. It's great to finally be able to get my feelings off my chest right now. I'm more than happy I just married the most amazing woman ever and I have the family I always dreamed of. Nobody's perfect, but I never thought my life would be this great. I'll stick around. Reddit is a lot more than I expected, but I can sleep peacefully now, so it's safe to say this will be my last update on this. Thanks for all the kindness and advice you gave me these months. I could have never expected the support I got from you guys, and I can't begin to describe how helpful it was. I really appreciate all of your support. I updated too soon because I didn't want to write another post. I'll just add this here. My stepbrother called me earlier today. He and SM had a fight and he wants to meet up. I agreed as long as it was just the two of us. We're meeting up for coffee on Wednesday. I have no idea what to expect, but even if he does apologize, I need to know he understands why he let us down. Edit 2. I rescheduled the meetup with Jane for when I'm back from my honeymoon on Friday. I decided that no matter what happens with SB, I don't want to spend the whole trip thinking about it. He understood, and we're gonna talk when I'm back. Final update. Step Monster and Step Brother. Hey guys! I've been away from Reddit for a few months due to some stuff at work, but I've been keeping up with your messages. I've been busy with work, but I've been getting a lot of messages about my stepbrother, so I thought I'd give you a quick update. I've been pretty tired recently, so I might not remember all the details, but feel free to ask me anything. I first met my stepbrother for coffee back in August. He'd had a fight with my mom, and we ended up talking about it. She'd lied to him about some details, saying that I was picking on my baby and bad-mouthing him, Jane and more, but this time he managed to get her to tell him the truth. My stepbrother started to think about his relationship with his mother after talking to his therapist and his friends about it, as well as the way she'd raised him. He finally accepted that I wasn't exaggerating about what she did to Luke. He wanted to talk to me back in June, but didn't want to distract me and Jane from the wedding. My stepbrother and I spent the last 4 months working on rebuilding our relationship. We've been meeting for coffee or lunch and discussing his mother and what she did to our lives and my kids. Jane started joining us in October, and the kids saw him again for the first time 2 weeks ago. Things were awkward between us for a while, but we're good now. He's also making amends with my sister. In November, he ended all contact with Jane. The kids are doing really well. Luke turned 5 in September, and our baby is due in early February. We're spending the holidays with Jane's family in Brazil while my stepbrother stays with his girlfriend. Things are great. That's all for now. I'll let you know if anything happens. Happy holidays. Best wishes to all of you.